So I said after the last game that it was a fun loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Not that I believe in moral victories or anything, but this game versus the Pacers was the exact opposite. It was a frustrating win, at least for the first 3 quarters, which honestly seems like months ago with how opposite that fourth quarter was. You know, the Miami Heat scored 45 points in the fourth quarter tonight. How does a team that just a week ago scored 11 points in the fourth quarter drop 45 in the same fourth quarter? They have got to be one of the most bipolar teams. It really makes you wonder on nights like tonight why they can't just play like this all the time. I did say in the last video also, I said the Heat play the Pacers next. They better score 150 because it seems like the Pacers are giving up 150 to everybody. And they damn near did it. They did drop 142. So maybe that's just the Indiana Pacer thing. I really haven't watched many Pacer games this season, but I do see the box scores. And it seems like every night they're in a game that's 130 plus to 130 plus. So yeah, I guess their defense is pretty bad. They were caught sleeping a ton of the time. Let's talk about Jimmy Butler, who had 36 points tonight. And that's really when the game kind of turned around because the Heat were in it for the most part the entire first half. And the reason that I said it was frustrated is because after getting down early, every time the Heat cut it to one possession, there was an Obi Toppin 3 or another Obi Toppin 3 or an Obi Toppin and 1 or Tyrese Haliburton 3, who did drop 44 tonight. We'll get into him. But Obi Toppin was awesome, and that was very frustrating because I kind of think he's cheeks. I'm not gonna lie. When he was with the New York Knicks the last couple of years, I really didn't think he was that great a player, specifically not for where he was drafted and all the hype he had coming out of Dayton and whatnot. But basically, every time the Heat got it close in this game, the Pacers answered with a monster shot. But then Jimmy Butler decided in the third quarter that it was takeover time and willed his way to the free throw line damn near 6 possessions in a row. Tonight, Jimmy finished with wow. I had to do a double take on that. 20 free throw attempts. He was 18 of 20. I can only imagine that as an opposing fan playing against the Miami Heat, you must absolutely despise Jimmy Butler, a guy that just gets to the free throw line at will. And I don't want to sound hypocritical because I love it, but I do hate guys like James Harden and Joel Embiid. But there's a difference. Those guys foul bait. They flop, flail, pretend like they got hit, fall every time they shoot a 3. Jimmy Butler is attacking the basket with a purpose, putting his head into people, lowering his shoulder every time, and getting to the rim at will, which he's so excellent at. And because he's so good at it, the defense obviously can't stop it, and they end up fouling him half the time. Let me know if I'm being biased there between, like the difference between Embiid's and James Harden's of the world and Jimmy Butler. I think there's a big difference, but Jimmy Butler continues to lead the league in free throw attempts every single year, and I think he earns it. But it was nice to see him be aggressive tonight, specifically because, unfortunately, Bam Adebayo did re-aggravate a hip injury in the first half. So it's the injury that he's been dealing with. He missed a couple games this year, so it wasn't a new injury, but he did miss the entire second half because of that. Now, since it's a new injury, I think that's good news. It's not like it's anything new. But he will likely miss some time. I don't know how serious it is. Initially, they said he'd come out to start the second half, but then we also saw Thomas Bryant was starting, and then they said Bam was out for the game. So we haven't heard anything about the extent of it yet. But knowing the Heat, they like to be cautious. They like to take things slow. Maybe he'll miss a couple games, but I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm hoping so. I'm not a doctor. But I think he'll be okay. But you come into the third quarter, you had Kyle Lowry with a great scoring outburst. So I do want to give Lowry some credit because he was very good tonight. Did finish with 15 points, ran the offense very well, and got some buckets when nobody else could. He did have 5 fouls. They put him to the bench, obviously, but he never had to come back because everyone else started playing. So we talked about the Jimmy Butler takeover. He's the guy that gave the Heat their first lead and kind of said, okay, we're in this game now. Made it, it's no longer the 8 to 10 points. We're in it. We're taking the lead. But then going into the fourth quarter, it was Jaime Jaquez Jr. who said, I am bringing this game home. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is slowly becoming one of my favorite players in the entire league. And y'all know I've been saying this since the preseason. I told you I got a foot fetish for the footwork. And that's exactly what Jaime Jaquez is. And a lot of people tell me to stop using that phrase, the foot fetish, for the footwork. But I do like footwork a lot. I'm not recording in the bedroom today with the usual setup, but y'all know when I do, I have the Hakeem Olajuwon Funko Pop back there because it's my favorite player of all time. Because I love footwork and I love fundamentals. Because as a guy myself who hoops a lot, quite often, like 6 days a week, and I'm not very athletic. So how do I get my buckets? It's with footwork. It's really a lost art. I can make a whole video talking about fundamentals in footwork. I really love that type of player. And that's Jaime Jaquez Jr., who did have 24 points tonight on 13 shots and really, really took over starting that fourth quarter. Had spin moves, going to the layups, attacking the basket, was doing everything, even playing really decent defense too. But the play of the game is when they had that Kevin Love outlet pass to Jay Rich. Jay Rich lobbed it up to Jaime Jaquez with 2 hands. Bam! Slammed it on whichever pacer was there. And then Jaime and Jay Rich had some really dope handshake. That shit was tough. That was fire. But shout out to Jaime Jaquez Jr. Definitely the story of the game, along with Jimmy Butler. Hayward Highsmith didn't really do too much. He was in some foul trouble as well. But I did like Duncan Robinson, who finished with 16 tonight. I think it was like 4 or 6 from 3. I had some concern because he had the thumb injury, how he'd look when he came back, because he was so hot to start the season. And it seemed like he's continuing right where he left off tonight. Had a couple tough layups too. Had the one where he jumped in the air like, they say he switched hands. He ain't switched hands. He kind of went up with 2 and then he went around the shot block and went up with the right. That's not something we would have seen from Duncan Robinson a year or 2 ago. And that right there is a phrase that I've said 100 times this season already. So you love to see the progress from Duncan Robinson. Josh Richardson was also awesome tonight. 19 points. He was 8 of 11. Super efficient. So everyone who was writing him off after the first 5 games of the season, you better apologize. I told y'all that he was hurt in the preseason. He was recovering from that, and he's been very, very good as late. And even if he's not shooting 8 of 11 for almost 20 points every night, we don't expect that. But the defense was also really, really great tonight, I thought. Even though in the fourth quarter the Heat gave up 32 points, I did feel like the defense was a lot better, a lot more improved than we saw in the first half. Because it was ugly. I mean, Eric Reed tried to warn us, and he said the Pacers lead the league in layups with like 18. They had like 34 layups in the first half. It was wild how terrible the Heat defense was. But obviously, maybe a lot of that is because Bam was out. He's, of course, the defensive anchor, being that he is the best defensive player in the NBA. So maybe it took them some time to adjust. But I felt like it was really much improved in that second half. And Kevin Love tonight, 5 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. He only took 1 shot. Wow, that was it. He hit it. So shout out to Kevin Love. There was points in this game where I felt like he was too slow to run with the Pacers. But I feel like I do like Kevin Love because even at his older age, you can still tell he has that knack for rebounding. And one of my favorite things about him is every time he gets the rebound, you see that half a second where he's looking out to see if the outlet pass is there. And today he threw like 4 or 5 of them in the fourth quarter, which was really, really fun. And even the other guys are learning. Jay Rich had one that went to a Duncan Robinson big 3, and Duncan was staring down the bench. That's really that fourth quarter is one of the most fun quarters I've seen for the Miami Heat in a long, long time. I also want to shout out Caleb Martin, who had 14 points today. He was efficient as well. It's nice to see him getting back into the swing of things, just like Josh Richardson and Orlando Robinson. It's nice to see him get some run too. They played 7 minutes. He scored once, but I wanted to shout him out because that was a little bit of topic of conversation when Bam missed the previous game. They started Thomas Bryant. He wasn't great. Bryant wasn't great today either, and we were all wondering where Orlando Robinson was because he was great versus the Knicks. So if Bam does miss the next game, which is versus the Pacers on Saturday again, then I think we may see Orlando Robinson start. At least I hope so, because why not try it? Thomas Bryant hasn't looked great, although I feel like he's been fine in his role this season. On the Indiana Pacers side, Buddy Hield was god-awful. I said the Heat defense was improved in the fourth quarter, but a lot of it was just Buddy Hield missing wide-open shots. He was 2 of 11 from 3, which is nice because I feel like he's typically a Heat killer. And we talked about Obi Toppin, but I really just want to shout out Tyrese Haliburton again. 44 points, 10 assists. This is not news, but he's going to be one of the best players in the entire league in a very short amount of time. I wonder if Kings fans are happy with that trade, because they were obviously had a pretty successful season last year, although they did get bounced in the first round because they got Sabonis. And Sabonis is having another great season this year, and the Kings are off to a pretty decent start. So although Haliburton looks like he'll be one of the best point guard, or he is one of the best point guards in the entire league, as is. Do you think Kings fans are happy with that trade? Y'all let me know down in the comments below, because that's really all I got to say for this video. So make sure y'all leave it a like and comment down below whatever you want to. Anything to really help the algorithm boost these videos out to other people so we can continue to grow the channel. And make sure to subscribe if you're not already, because I do appreciate that a lot. And I'll see y'all next time. Maybe after the Pacers game Saturday if I got some time. But I'll see y'all then. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.